Jan Schneider can only be described as a local legend in the town of Smithton, Illinois, a retired man who can be recognized by anyone in his town and will recognize someone wherever he goes. Jan is someone who spreads joy and happiness on a daily basis and seems to never be down or upset. This could be due to his childhood, which deprived him of such things, and he doesn't want others to not have it as well. Despite his rough childhood, Jan turned out all right and went on to make a happy family and work a career that would later give him his nickname for life. Born November 26, 1950, Jan came into this world without parents. After he was born, his mother disappeared, leaving him with his father, who took him to his grandma's house where he lived up until the 7th grade, when she died of cancer. During this time, at his grandma's house, Jan had no running water, only an outhouse for a bathroom, bathed in a water trough, and burned corn cobs to stay warm in the winter. Needless to say, Jan didn't have a great time at her house after she passed. He moved to his Aunt Loretta's house. Life was better at his aunt's house, where he lived until he was a junior in high school. During his junior year of high school, he got into a car accident and didn't have insurance to cover it, but his aunt said she did. It turns out she in fact did not have insurance, and she could not afford to keep Jan and pay for the damages, so Jan had to move again. He finally ended up at his other aunt's house, where he stayed with his Aunt Dorothy and Uncle Archie, where he wrangled animals and cleaned stables until he graduated college. During his time at Southwestern Illinois College, Jan met Cindy Reinhardt during a card game with friends, who he would marry in 1968, the same year he graduated.
Yeah, he was playing cards at our next door neighbor's house, and Jan had asked who I was, so our next door neighbor came over, knocked on our door, and introduced Jan. And we dated, and then the rest was history.
It was only 2 years later when they would start their family and continue to grow that family in the years after in the new home they bought in Smithton. In order to sustain his family, Jan worked at a grocery store called the Piggly Wiggly as a stocker. After 6 years at the Piggly Wiggly, Jan's father came back into his life to tell him about a position at Illinois American Water Works. Jan had no idea what the job entailed, but he took it anyway. Jan worked as a meter reader, which is someone who goes to house to see how much they've used, to see how much they owe to the utility companies. Doing this job for many years and visiting every house around him, Jan started to gain some notoriety in town. This turned him the nickname Jan the Meter Man, which made him even more famous. Outside of his job, he was very active in the community, from selling snow cones for hours after work to making elaborate horror scenes in his garage during Halloween.
I remember growing up, Halloween was a huge thing at our house. So we would get all the kids in the neighborhood that were too old to trick or treat, and we would set up our own haunted house. So we have a 2-car garage that we would section off into 4 different things, and each one would plan a different scene. So while we were doing that, my dad would hide out in the bushes, hide in the backyard with his chainsaw, running around chasing kids down. And then they would come through our haunted house, and that was Halloween at our house.
After 38 years at the water company, Jan retired at the age of 59. He now enjoys the simple things in life, whether that be his dogs, his turtle statues, or his wife Cindy, who he loves to bother even more now that he is no longer working. Jan has been fortunate to have a rapidly growing family and looks forward to the day he becomes a great grandpa, but until then, he has his iPad to keep him busy.